Hi, I am Deborah R. Richardson of Debra R. Richardson LLC, and I work with you to help you clean up your vendor's data, clean up your vendor processes so that you pay the right vendor. Now, I also help you avoid compliance fines, which is this vendor master file tip of the week. And the question is, do you have to screen every ACH payment under Nacha's new fraud monitoring rule? Now, as of the date that this is being published, which is Tuesday, March 2024, we now have two new NACHA rules as of March 20th, 2026. Now, the first one here is the company entry descriptions. Now, you may need to follow that, and you probably do, right, for your vendor payments. So, I will put a link to the new rules page for NACHA so you can take a look at that. But what we're really talking about is this one today, the fraud monitoring rule. And what the rule says is that you have to establish and implement risk-based processes and procedures reasonably intended to identify ACH entries initiated due to fraud. Now, the risk-based is not a blanket review. So you do not have to check all of your vendors' ACH payment. What's required to do is you are required to identify risk-based vendors and then check those payments. And so that's very different from saying that you must review or individually screen every single ACH payment. Now, if you know me or followed me, listened to my podcast, heard me speak in public, met me in person, you know that I think you should do the same thing with all of your vendors' remittance information. Make sure that you are protecting your company, your vendor, yourself, right, from potential fraud. But today we're talking about what NACHA requires. And they do not require that you check every ACH payment or vendor bank details that lead to an ACH payment, only those identified as high risk. So it's risk based, not a blanket review. So what does that mean? That means that you need to look for those vendors that have unusual payment patterns, new or changed bank accounts. And remember, I said new. So if you're going to use your confirmation call to comply, that process to comply, make sure you add vendors that have new banking, not just change banking, because at that point, it's unconfirmed, right, banking. So newer change bank accounts, transactions outside of normal timing or dollar ranges, right? So might not want to check a $20, but you might want to check a $2 million. Also, any other anomalies that do not fit your normal activity baseline. And so I'm talking about three different ways that you can identify your high risk vendors. Like, what three criteria can you look for? Now, if you want three ways to meet not just ACH fraud monitoring rule, right, before the deadline, okay, so it's after the deadline, but this webinar was before the deadline. And technically, at least one of the options is something you can put into place immediately. I also talk about who is required to comply by March 20th or June 22nd. So if you're interested in listening to the recording, I will have a link in the description, or you can scan the QR code and then register to watch the recording from there. All right, so that's all I have for today. If you'd like more information on how to improve your vendor process, please go to my website at deborarrichardson.com for free tools and resources to avoid fraud, regulatory fines, just overall bad vendor data. Now, if you would like over 173 hours of annual training for your vendor team, check out the Vendor Process Training Center at training.deborarrichardson.com. So good luck, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified next Tuesday for the next Vendor Master File tip of the week.